conserve and use sustainability through equitable stakeholder partnership for the common goal. And to achieve the vision, so we have 4 major programs, river care, which I'm aiding. Besides that, we also have forest and coastal, peatland, and outreach and partnership. No? And specifically for river care program, our mission is to promote the protection, restoration, and sustainable use of the rivers by enhancing multi-stakeholder participation and knowledge in stimulate local action, because we strongly believe none of us can be champion on our own. So we need to work together through the smart partnership, on the thing. And in order to materialize our mission, we have developed various programs since 2002 until now. And some of the key areas that we are championing when it comes to river is water resource management, protection and conservation, river health monitoring, restoration, rehabilitation, beside disaster risk management, pollution management, demand, pressure, and so on. And when it comes to citizen science, I like to share here, generally, global understanding citizen science is a practice of public, local community participation and collaboration in scientific research to increase scientific knowledge, how we can tap our biggest stakeholder or resources available in any part of the world to support the scientific research. Through citizen science, people share and contribute the data monitoring and collection program. But in GC, in Global Environment Center in Malaysia, we extended and localized the definition of citizen science, focus on community role in sustainable river care in this case, where we strongly believe that community should play a proactive role in mitigation measures, not only monitor mitigation measures aside the monitoring. So most importantly, we believe that community should be the driver or change agent as well as the action oriented in river conservation. In order to achieve that, we have developed approach. These are based on our more than 20 years experience, where we should focus on the soft approach or the hard approach, to bring whatever from here to the heart. So hard approach, and then civic science, because it must be science-based, and then through the methodology that we developed over the years, we call VIPC, which hard approach, civic science, and VIPC will lead to the what you and I looking for, which is the ultimately the action by the thing. So when we talk about citizen science, we strongly believe that, as I mentioned earlier, people as the driver for the river care. And all of us must understand that sustainable water resource management must involve everyone, including the public, because study shows at a global level that water problem no more concentrate on water. So it's often generated outside of the water sector. So therefore, we cannot be any more water-centric, focus on water-centric. So we need to involve unpresented and also hidden actors into these to materialize this river care, sustainable river care program. And when come to action, we need to understand that our prime action must be working with the nature and not against it. This is a lesson learned that we learned throughout the thing, to ensure that water is for all, not only for human being, but also for the animal, plants, and environment. So everyone have equal right to the access for the clean water, and also to balance the beside economic and also social, also the environment and also spiritual or religious need. As we know, all rivers are not for each river need different approach. And one of the key things, what we say, that proper understanding of the stakeholders and success model, because it's various according to who and which classic. So for example, when we talk about stakeholder, I like to share that people are talking about, is it government, private sectors or public? But if we go in depth on these three sectors, are they federal government, state government, or local government, education, research, and so on. But let me conclude all this group still consider one group called Homo sapien or human being. So we need to understand when we talk about stakeholders, it's not only human being. We cannot be selfish. We have to understand there's another two group of stakeholders, which is flora and fauna. So whatever we do, we need to see the impact of our activity, the beneficiary of our activity is not only human being, but also the flora and fauna. Okay, and when come to approach, we need to learn the art of balancing between the hard approach, which is structural solution, and soft approach, where GC promoting the hard approach, where it must be science-based. When I say science-based, all kind of science, not only pure and applied science, but also social science and also traditional science. These are very, very important. Traditional science, and backyard science, and also civic science, And based on our 20 years experience, civic science approach actually, what does it mean? Put the civic back into the civil engineering. That is what lacking. So we have to put civic there because it will enable the local action and to reconnect to the nature, and finally to instill the sense of ownership. So in GC, civic science have 4 steps. First, you have to give them, create the awareness, and then provide them with the knowledge, the right knowledge, and empower them with the skill. Because with the awareness, knowledge, and skill, it will lead to the what you and I are looking for, which is the action by everyone. Okay, so we need to balance that. And in order to have action, GC have developed step by step how to engage the stakeholder, especially the community. We call WIPCs. Okay, the formula, which we are talking about water and river basin education, and then identification and understand the issue, and then proactive consultation all the time, and smart partnership, empowerment, action, and sharing and recognition. So in GC Citizen Science, we have River Ranger 2.0, which progress started since 2004, emphasize the formula called 4R2P, river address, river mapping, river hydrology, and river monitoring. And the 2 P's, reduce the pollution and be proactive. And the key 3 areas that people need to emphasize if you want to champion on the river care is number 1, about understand about water connection. Number 2, river basin concept, and be part of the solution, not the problem. Okay, so I go one to the. So we must understand these are basic fundamental understanding people need to have, that we are part of the water cycle. Human being, whether you are from government, private sectors, or public, or any sector, that we are part of the water cycle. And that's very fundamental understanding that people need to have, that we are part of the water cycle. If we fail to do, okay, or do wrong thing, and then we will be the beneficiary or the impacted with our own action. So to translate it into layman term, on your left hand side, you can say actually what we do here in the basin that actually come back to us through the water supply, potable water supply. Number 2, when we talk about river basin, so we need to understand that we and nature is interconnected. We depend on nature through the river basin. And in order to understand the river basin, we need to have 3 knowledge on that. What is the immediate river that flow through our institution or house, and second, where our drinking water come from which river, and where our wastewater ends up. Because all these 3 important to build the relationship, to understand people that how important river to mankind. And also the key message I like to want to convey through this platform is drain also part of the river system. That you want to love river, you want to care for river, you need to first tackle the drain. You need to understand that drain management, monsoon drain, is a part of the, or for me, the most important part of the river management. So we have My Drains Day and so on. And the last one, be part of the solution, not the problem. So be into river conservation, river rehabilitation, or even pollution management that you and I can do within our means, within our house. No need to go to river and do your part for river care, and also other initiatives. You can see the list. And then the other one, if you want to do the river care champion, you need to have the right tools. This is very important. Everyone must have the right tools to tackle the river care or to champion the river care. And the tool is something that's simple, feasible at a community level for intended target group. It cannot be too sophisticated. It must be simple and also can be duplicated by anyone from any part of the world. So you need to understand, in order to champion the river care community base, you must find the right tools for your local condition with who your target, their education, the demographic, and so on. Besides that, you also have to have a bunch of network, a group that, peer-to-peer to motivate you to share. And so in Malaysia, GC have initiated Friends of River Basin. Okay, Friends of River Basin, where you have a group or community who champion a common goal to care for the river. You can see the evaluation of the Friends of Rivers Basin in Malaysia. And the other one also, I like to emphasize the stakeholders, that when you work with a community have to ensure that you need to also work with the agencies, involve the private sectors and also other institutions, as what you can see here. So we rightly put it that everyone need to work smart, help each other, and so on. And finally, beside the tools, sometimes community also need resources. When I say resources, there's two kinds of resources generally. One, the technical knowledge or skill, there the expert can come in and help them. Secondly, financial resources as well, because why? Environmental management cannot be sustained without financial model. I repeat again, environmental cannot be sustained without financial model. Okay, so with that, I just like to end my presentation with one simple case study, how the local communities with the very low demographic, where they come from very poor community, where high density in urban area, is a 12 acres residential with a total 18 blocks, okay, and 2,250 people and very low earning group. And the issue they have, the riverbank is being turned into dumping ground, illegal rubbish throw place, and also become famous spot for drug addicts, high case of dengue, as well a place for students, to go away from the social problem and also schools. Okay, and the problem that I have mentioned, I described there, that was before 2012. Now look at that. The same place now become something like this through the smart partnership, through the engagement of the local communities, and also the government, private sectors, NGO, and so all the community playing their role through the smart partnership. And finally, just to give you the current scenario, the view of the place is this. This how it looks like. The place was illegal dumping, all the issue from the drugs, from the environment issues, social issues, now become a case study and a proud of the community. Good example. So with that, that's I hope that everyone get the whole process of citizen science, community engagement in river care in Malaysia. Finally, healthier environment. Okay, so together we achieve more, because that's the key thing. Together we achieve more. With that, thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thailand. So very good presentation too, because it seems to be encouraged everyone in this room too to think about the river crisis and then how to success about your project. Before and after picture, obviously show us it's very clearly that we can do together, everything can success. Thank you very much. Also, okay, we think about we'll go to the second speaker, Dr. Virun Limsawat. He is Director of Society and Health in Field, Health Technical Office of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Health, Thailand. He also worked very hard for the research of health care and medicine too. He already have many research too. So one sample, he also do the research about the public health and medicine, and also interested to using a biosocial interaction framework, linked in-depth biological study and social analysis to understand the global and local problem of antimicrobial and resistant And moreover than that, and he also interested in the promoting building the citizen air monitoring network to raise public aware of the air pollution has effects on health and encourage people become a part of network too. So today he will present in the title of building a citizen air monitoring network, C-Air, a case of citizen science in the quest for clean air in Thailand. Please welcome Dr. Virun Limswat.
สวัสดีครับ Good afternoon. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm very happy to be a part of this discussion about citizen science. I'm working in the Ministry of Public Health at a health as a medical doctor and also an anthropologist. I'm graduate from I got my MA and PhD in anthropology, so I'm engaged with the issue of the clean air movement in Thailand because of the second identity as a medical anthropologist and also as a father of 3 kids. Because of the problem of air pollution or dirty air is ubiquitous, and in Thailand it's become a key issue of the country in the past few years. So today what I'm going to talk about is a small project that I and a group of people in the Thai Clean Air Network tried to do 2 years ago or 3 years ago before the happening of the COVID pandemic. So when we talk about the citizen science, I think for the today's symposium, we cannot separate between the science literacy and the citizen science. Is the 2 issues that should come together. But in this panel, we are talking mainly about the citizen science. So the meaning of citizen science from the citizenscience.gov from the US government, it's said like this. In citizen science, the public participates voluntarily in the scientific process, addressing real-world problems. So I think the beginning point is that what really are the real-world problems? When we talk about this, when we see this kind of thing happen in the hospital, this is the picture from the hospital in northern Thailand where the air polluted extremely in the past few years. When we talk about the problem, we should begin with some kind of moving with a series of public discussion to enhance the science literacy. In the year 2019, at the beginning of that year, the issue of PM 2.5 became the public agenda, and everybody in Thailand know exactly the word 2.5, and the term PM become a common term in Thai. People begin with it by maybe not exactly know what it is. So we is the group of people from many academic area, from scientists who work with air pollution, the economists and the social science like me and a medical doctor and many other people. We come together and discuss how to deal with this problem effectively. So we come together and form the network that we call Thai Clean Air Network. And we organize the public discussion. A series of public discussion began in February 2019. And by that, what we observe is that it's gain people science literacy what really is the PM 2.5, what really is the sources of the pollution, and what really is the real world problem. Then, by noticing something that is the real problem, we think about a concept of the citizen air monitoring network, because we see the lack of something like this. This is the prototype of what we call the CAIR. The CAIR is a platform that we bring together the information, the data from the Air for Thai is the platform of the government that have some specific station in some provinces, but the dust boy is the network of the local network created by the university, the academic people, but they are trying to engage with the people in that area, that they can have their own air monitoring station by using the low cost sensor. So it's like these two movements go in the different direction. So what I and my colleagues in the Thai Clean Air Network, we think that if we can bring together this information, this air pollution data, and create a platform that everyone can contribute to the network, they can by using their low-cost sensor, their monitoring, that they can afford by their money, their small money, and put it into this platform that we call the Citizen Air Monitoring Network. And we use some algorithm to create the map that will help people who cannot afford even a very cheap air monitoring sensor. For example, in this picture, you can see that the CAIR integrated source monitoring on the left, on your left, it is the using the data only from the government monitoring station. But when we put in the information from the dashboard, the citizen network, we can see the red spot at in the red circle. This is what is happening at 1:30 a.m. in the night of April 18, 2019. At that time, if people who live in the red circle did not have any information, they can live without any proper protection. That is what we concern. So we try to create this kind of network by using this prototype and also the conceptual framework, and work together with many universities that they have their own local network. It's like they have their small project of the citizen science, that they put the low-cost sensor in the hand of the community, in the hand of people, and create their own network. In the north, the dashboard is from the north. The southern Thailand, the Prince Songkhla University, they also have their own local network. And the network from some university in Chiang Rai and in some area, there is no air pollution monitoring station. When we come together, when we create the working together as a network to develop the CAIR, it is the project that we bring together all the network available. And we found that 19 of the 77 provinces in Thailand did not have any air pollution monitoring station. only the rich people can afford many thousand, 10 or 20 or 30,000 private owned monitoring station that will collect information and put into their global monitoring network. But we cannot have it make it available for everybody. So this is what we found. It's like the finding that bring us from science literacy to the awareness of the right to know of people. So in our network, the Clean Air, the Thailand Clean Air Network, we have this project of the Citizen Air Monitoring System, or CAIR, that I'm responsible to lead. And we also have the project to reform the Thai law and to create the Clean Air Act and the Thai EPA, like the US EPA. So because the ground of it is the paradigm, it's the mentality of people. When we talk about citizen, it is the relationship between people and the state. It's like people have to follow, have to ask, have to know only what the government tells us. So by this finding, we think that it is the time to create the awareness of the right to know. So we go a step forward by developing what we call the Thai AQHI, the Air Quality Health Index, because the AQHI is another concept that try to provide the information to the people who are at risk about the short-term health impact of air pollution. Because we have to begin with the understanding that each person are vulnerable, not equally. Some people are more sensitive to the short-term exposure to the air pollution. Therefore, at the end of the day, in the midnight, the people who live in the red circle, if there is a person who suffer from the lung cancer or asthma, they should have some kind of protection by some kind of information that will alert them to help them to protect themselves or their loved ones. So that's why we put this into our work with the Ministry of Public Health. I'm actually a doctor in the Ministry of Public Health, so I work with and I work within the ministry to make the Air Quality Health Index available and possible in Thailand. But as you know, it's like working in the ministry is maybe challenging. So it's like we have to work with people, with the network of people. So we create the network of people, of many group of people together from the academic, from the government, and from the civil society, and create one event together that we sign the MOU for the Clean Air Network development. And we have what we call the CM Manifesto, that we are committed to open data, because all data that we collect, we will share and we will make it available for the public. And also, we will focus on the public interest. As you know, information or data like this is valuable. It can commercialize in many ways. So if we begin with the main idea, the foundational concept that we will provide the open data that we collect together for the public interest, is the groundwork for the citizen science in the future. And also because it's very difficult to put some kind of CR forward, we try to ask for support from the government, like the previous speaker, he talked about the funding, right? Also, funding for this kind of project is crucial to get things move forward. after many failed efforts, we think that we have to move by putting it into law. The right to know and the AQHI to the Clean Air Act, the Thailand Clean Air Network, put into the process in this January this year. This is the groundwork for the movement of the country forward. However, one thing that is happening together since the beginning is that we strengthen from the ground by building an active school community. I work with the parent in my child's school and create the community wellness team that we work together to create our own system of citizen science in a small community. Parents have their own monitoring sensor and they send the information to the center and to tell that now it is the situation. Now we have to protect our child, and we create a team, and the team make the IoT of the air monitoring sensor at the school and create the application that we call it Pama Smell. It's like the Papa and Mama smell the danger for the kids. So and now we go forward to put this concept as a form of working together by having the right knowledge about something, about the danger of the pollution. And by this, I think even though the Sea Air project is not yet successful, but it laid the groundwork for further development in the hope that we can have the clean air for our kids in the future. And as Dr. Poi Ung Pakon said, we will not die with stupid death like the pollution of air and of the water. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your sharing. So very, very valuable for us too. So of course we can't say no about the air pollution. Seems to be very important for us that we need to concern. And that's very good that you share us that how to collect the data and how to say like open the data for the people, because this data is very important for them too. And I quite very impressed about the project that parents try to do a very best thing for their child, that your friend and your friend parents come to join and grow up these projects too. I think that might inspire many people here to think about the citizen science, even though small group, a big group, or anything, but we can do together. Thank you very much, Dr. Yurun Yimswat. Thank you. ขอบคุณนะคะค่ะ next we will go to the third speaker. I think that's very, very good for you to listen about the environment about the ant as well, and it's quite a difference from the two speakers. So next will be the Dr. Bernard, and he is an associate professor at the University of Hong Kong. He published over 100 scientific articles on the ecology, evolution, and taxonomy of ants and other insects. He also the founder and director of the Hong Kong Biodiversity Museum, which in increasing education, research, and conservation of biodiversity in Hong Kong. Please welcome Dr. Garnett.
Hi, thank you very much. Sawadee Krap. Good afternoon, everyone. So first of all, please let me thank the National Science Museum of Thailand for their invitation. I'm very pleased, so I'm gonna be sharing my presentation right now. Here we go. Okay, I hope you can all see well and hear me well as well. Okay. Very good. So let me just move the screen here. Okay, so what I'd like to talk about today is actually some of the efforts that I engage to reach the public. And just to give you a bit of my background, I'm a scientist by training. So basically my goals are always to do science and advanced science, and in particular on questions related to biodiversity. And for that, as you will see, I use ants mainly as a study system. But I'm also very interested in engaging the public in sharing, of course, the discovery that we make, but also engaging them in the understanding of biodiversity. So basically they get more concerned about it and eventually decide to change their behavior to protect the environment, which I think is absolutely capital today. So I arrived in Hong Kong in 2014 as the picture here illustrates. You can see that Hong Kong is a pretty big city. It's very well known as an urban jungle. It's also a very wealthy city, which is known for its bank and financial industry. But one of the things that actually surprised me when I joined Hong Kong is that there was actually no biobank. So basically, like, there is no structure that will allow to protect and conserve the natural heritage or the species that live in Hong Kong. And this is very surprising for a city of that size and of this kind of development, because many cities, in particular in northern part of Asia, but also on other continents, will have this kind of infrastructure. However, there was a collection that existed within my department at HKU, but when I joined, the collection was kind of scattered in many different places around the building. Here you can see some pictures of some cabinets where the specimens were stored, not without proper orders, not even cares, and some even had not been seen for 20 years because they were under locks for all that time. Clearly not exactly the best kind of conditions. So what I decided over the years is to try to restore that collection and progressively make it accessible to the public. So this is how I founded the Hong Kong Biodiversity Museum. And you can see here our main space, which is only 62 square meters. So we have a very small museum. But nonetheless, we try to do things that we can by basically engaging the public through the 20,000 specimens that we have. So again, it's not a very large collection. Many collections around the world will have multiple millions of specimens, so we are very far from that. But nonetheless, we have a pretty good diversity, as I hope you can judge from that picture. And we finally opened online, and I will be developing a bit more about that in March 2021, just so it was giving us time to advertise to the public because we had no budget. So we thought, let's try to do the best with what we could through social media. And 2 months later, we actually opened physically the museum, which has been on and off due to the COVID situation. But overall, despite being open twice a week on Wednesday and Saturday, we were able to welcome up to 9,000 visitors. So it's actually a very popular place now for visiting, and we have been fully booked nearly since the beginning. Now, because we are limited by space, fortunately with modern technology, we can also provide much more information online. And so this is something that is very important for us. And one of the ways to engage with the public is to create new and original posts every week. So the public can basically learn about different species or different concepts in ecology or biodiversity. And sorry, I cannot see on my screen. And now we have about 135 stories that have been compiled. So if you're interested to learn more about biodiversity, of course, we focus mainly on Hong Kong, but we also touch on many of the species found around the world. Feel free to follow us. And today we were able to establish a community of about 8,000 followers. And we have a reach of 400,000 individuals, or whatever that means exactly. But I would say it's a modest success, of course. But we were able to find our public and our audience that are interested to learn more about it. And so again, you can learn about all kinds of organisms, and we also present aspects of conservation of the specimen, which are very important for museums. And this is something that we get very good feedback from our audience. But now, if I come back a little bit more to what I do as a researcher, I'm a myrmecologist, so that means someone studying ants. Do sometimes also a bit of other insects, but mainly my main focus is on ants. And I not just focus on one or two species, I actually focus all ant species on the planet, which at this point are getting close to 16,000 species being described. So it's a quite numerous, quite diverse group, if I can say. Just for comparison, it's about as much as all mammal and all bird species combined. So you can see there's actually a lot of species found in ants. And part of the work that I've been doing for 10 years now is to try to compile all the information about the distribution of species around the planet. And so this is a work that took me quite some time. And now we have about 2 million records collected into that database, and starting from 1758 up to today. So it's about 260 years of ant collection made by thousands of scientists around the world. Now, that might seem a lot, 2 million, but a few years ago, I had the curiosity to look at how much specimens were created by other taxonomy groups. And in particular, what I found is with eBirds, who then, as the name indicates, focus on birds. And while for ant biologists, it took about 260 years to get 2 million records, it takes only about 8 days for bird biologists and others to get as much data. So clearly, we can see that there is a huge difference here that exists. And then I start wondering, how could I increase data collection so we could get a better representation of the ants over the globe? But also, I had to ask myself, what do birds have that ants do not? And the answer is actually pretty straightforward. Birds, they have an army of amateurs. You probably, maybe some yourself, or maybe you know people who love to watch birds and to actually compile records all over the world. And this is really something that is fantastic, because that's how they can generate a lot of data relatively quickly. There's also a lot of benefits of working on birds, but I'm not going to touch on that quite more. So again, it made me think quite a bit. And at about that time, there was maybe this little game that came out that you may have heard about called Pokemon Go. That was really a big global success. And what I realized is that in that game, actually people were doing exactly what I was doing as a scientist, except that they were doing in a virtual world. And that kind of gave me some thoughts, and like, why don't we not just turn biodiversity exploration into a game so we can engage more people to do it, and not just with birds, but also with other groups of organisms like ants, for example. And so can we catch them all if we do it this way? And so the idea of a video game playful approach is obviously very popular across all kinds of people all over the world. But for that, we need to find how to actually get people interested and hooked. And then I play video game myself, or I used to when I have a bit more time, not so much these days. But what I thought about video games is really like this notion of having challenges, that you have some tasks to accomplish, and that's what basically is self-motivating and helps you to go further. And I thought maybe we can do the similar kind of things by providing challenges through short educational videos. And here are just a few examples of the challenges that I thought about. So one can be called a tiny challenge, where I can ask people, collect the smallest ant that you can find in Hong Kong, or the giant challenge, collect the largest one. The full-time collector, where I can say, okay, you have a challenge where you need to collect during the day and night, not just during the day. The vampire challenge, where you'll be focusing on a particular group of ants called the vampire ants. Of course, the name is very exciting for many people. The Highland Explorer, where you're going to not just go focus on where you live, but maybe start moving around so you can maybe explore more areas. The Arbor Ant Explorer, etc., etc. The idea behind that is that me as a scientist, I do have a certain knowledge on how to collect ants, but somebody who is not familiar with ants may not have this kind of knowledge. I could make lecture, but that would be very boring. So maybe I can make games so people may actually do what I would like them to do. I kind of manipulate them in a certain way, in a nice way, of course. But this way, they can also learn along the way by receiving new information. And so there is also an advantage of doing this is that you develop a community of long-term participants through progressive learning, where you start one task at a time, and then you basically accumulating more knowledge and you're getting more skills and at the same time have fun in doing it. So that's what I hope this can achieve through a project that I call Sentinel. You can see the little play of game here by people collecting multiple type of ants. So those are just, and basically those have really three main objectives. The first one is to increase public awareness on ecological roles and diversity. The second one is to increase knowledge on native diversity, which is very important when we study biodiversity. But in a context in big cities like Hong Kong, but that would be also the case in Bangkok or other cities across Asia or around the world, one of the things that is important is to detect and monitor biological invasion. So those species that come from other places in the world and sometimes can be problematic, and what kind of community change they will cause on the native biodiversity. And so those are really the three main goals. But there was a few challenges that needs to be addressed, and those can be quite big. The first one is, how do I get people interested in ants? Ants are not the first group of organisms that people think like, oh, wow, I'm going to go outside and observe ants. No, they will think about birds, they will think about butterflies, dragonflies eventually. Ants are rarely one of them, let's be honest here. The second one is, how do I get people to collect the species I need and where I need them to go? That's why the challenge will be interesting for. And then how do I ensure that there's high quality data? Because again, the goal is to do science with those data. We don't want a bunch of records that are erroneous. So how do we do all of this? Well, we tried the kind of beta version of this project just in the past year with one of the final year student undergrad, Miss Kemi Wong, who actually did that as a project. And we're not sure exactly how to start by engaging the audience. So we thought, why don't we use the Biodiversity Museum so we can have a platform to actually advertise about the project. And let's see if we can recruit volunteers this way. We did that. Kemi made a very nice poster that went online. And after 48 hours, we had to stop the recruitment because we had too many people who were applying. We realized that we are overwhelmed. We could not provide enough material for everybody to participate. So that was the very good news, is that the people were really eager to actually participate, even on the project working on ants. So there was no barrier here that I was a bit afraid of. And actually, the people, when they engage, they also self-advertise themselves. So this is a poster that was made by a mom, for example, whose kids participated, and she started posting that on other groups, and then other people wanted to participate as well. So this is really great. Like, people really felt like they were taking part of this project and wanted to advertise more and share that with others. We also received pictures like this one, where we can see basically this young scientist who already collected some of the ants, and the parents again were very proud and very happy to share that with us and with other people as well. So we made a protocol just to explain a little bit. Here is just a figure summary. Of course, that's a little bit difficult. So we made videos to explain exactly. So people could just reproduce the videos. The videos were just about 2 minutes long. And so the basic principle is for people to place 5 little baits on the ground, wait for about half an hour, and then the ants come, and then you can just close them very quickly. And then you put them in your freezer, and then you bring them back to us. And that's it. You get some ants that you collected here. We gave about 4 months for the public to do it, from November to February, which, to be honest, is not the best season in Hong Kong to collect ants. It's actually a cooler season. But nonetheless, that was the time that we had available. And in total, we distributed 530 kits. So each kit has 5 different vials that can be used by the public. One of the first things to realize then is that out of 530 kits, we only had 245 kits that were returned. So as you can see, a majority of kits actually did not come back to us, so, which is obviously an issue. Then among those, there were also the public had to fill some information, and we had a certain percentage that was not filled properly, so we could not use that information. And then, of course, not all kits had ants necessarily. Only 158 had ants in there. The reason can be various. Maybe there was no ants the day they did it. Maybe the positioning of the valves were not good, so it didn't work. Anyway, in total, we had about 30% of the kits that we provided that were useful for getting data. And that is important. Now, when we get those data, we actually did the work ourselves to identify the ants. And the reason for that is because, to me, wrong data are far worse than no data at all. When we talk about biodiversity, when we try to monitor species, maybe using them for science, for research, to me, one of the major problems with big data these days is that there is often in biodiversity no control over the quality of data. And this is something that really needs to be addressed very seriously. I do prefer having less data of high quality than a bunch of data that actually are very poor quality. And unfortunately, there is a lot of opportunities now to collect biodiversity data. Sometimes it doesn't work that well because of the lack of quality that we do here. So to control this, we made sure that we were getting all the samples and we're doing all the identifications ourselves. Ants are also not a group that is easy to identify. So that's maybe a difference with other groups that I mentioned earlier, like birds and butterfly. So we did all of this. And so we have to mount the specimens. You can see that on the top left picture. Then we did some imaging, and also we look at the microscope to ensure that we have the right identification. Now, I show you this map. This is a map of Hong Kong with different records. So those are presented by different colors. So those of our project Sentinel are here in yellow. And I want to raise your attention here on the fact that you can see some parts of the map are green. Those are country parks. And because they are country parks, they are protected. So participants are not allowed to actually collect any kind of plants or animals in those country parks. And we made this very clear. We are glad that it was very well respected. So basically, people can mainly collect within disturbed area or urbanized area. But we decided to compare the data that we created through the scientific projects, citizen science project, sorry, with a more like typical research project, two of them that have been done by my lab. The one in red is one that focused specifically on exotic ant species. And so you can see some overlap. And the one in blue is just some general collecting that we also do in forest, just to get a better representation of the diversity of ants in Hong Kong. And one of the things that is very promising is that in just about a few months, 4 months, we got a better geographic coverage during the Sentinel project that we had when we go ourselves. And here the difference is that when we go, we may have 1 or 2 persons going over a period of multiple years, while here we had hundreds of people going maybe over a short period of time, and they just go randomly. And so that's a really good thing for us. However, the diversity of species collected was about a third of what we collected in another project, for example. And this makes sense because the people, they will use a very naive approach. I would say like debating is one of the approach, but not one that you will get a very good census of all the ants. So it was kind of expected, but nonetheless, 36 species is still interesting. One of them was actually a new record for Hong Kong as well. So this is quite good. And one of the things that was really interesting is that a majority of the species collected, 2/3 of them, were actually exotic species, so non-native to Hong Kong. And in terms of occurrences, so how many times we collected them, you can see that it was an overwhelming majority. And so what that tells us is that for this kind of project, those may not be good for native biodiversity at large, at least not the way we've done it, but it's quite interesting to actually monitor exotic species. So that has some value into it. Now, if I just summarize this, we have several advantages that some of them we realize. The first one is that the public was really keen on surveying ants, much more than I would have expected. It also helped us to raise awareness, enthusiasm, and knowledge about ants. We did a very simple version. In the future, we'd love to develop this aspect much more, but this is something that is possible. And it allows to have a very large geographic coverage. And this is, again, something that is very positive. Now, some of the limitation of it is that you need to have a high initial investment that is needed, and you have a very low return rate of useful data. This is not typical of a study. Actually, we compare with other studies conducted in other continents as well, some in Italy, some in the US, and they have very similar kind of return rate, about 30 to 40% as well. It's logistically demanding, like preparing all the material takes time, so we need resources for that. And then there's some biological limitation, as I explained. If you try to get a good census of all biodiversity, all those rare species, or like maybe that are more specialized, this is more difficult to actually get. But here are some of the solutions. One of the way to actually cope with the fact that you need to have a high investment needed and low return rate is maybe due to the fact that we had kind of a central place foraging approach where all the people had to come back to our museum to bring back the specimens or to send us to us by mail. I think if we increase the numbers of drop-off sites, maybe by we having collaborators in different parts of the territory, then we might have a higher return rate. The second thing is that it's logistically demanding. Maybe we can also develop partnership with NGOs or schools to also prepare the samples and monitor the whole flow of their distribution. And then for the biological limitation, here we didn't really use in that beta version the challenge, the gamification to channel the participant behavior. Maybe if we were to do that, I would expect actually to get better results in terms of the diversity that we may capture for this kind of program. So I'd like to thank you for your attention, and in particular, I'd like to thank our funding for the museum, and of course, Camille, we did a fantastic work. I all wish that you will have students as good as Camille to do this kind of work. And also members of my laboratory will help in the processing and identification process, Matamer and André Ibanez, and of course, all the participants of the Sentinel Beta that we did. Again, if you want to learn more about biodiversity and the activities that we do and learn more about biodiversity, feel free to follow us. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garnett. I think that it's very good that from your sharing for us, because you how to say, like, you share about your lessons, about the challenges that you already faced with the project and how to solve the problems too. And actually, I'm quite interested in this project too, because in our museum, we already have an community. But for us, we use just like a Facebook society, like to do about the observe the ant around Thailand. So I think that is very good for children in Thailand too, to do some project like you. So thank you very much for your information. So
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And then I will go to the next speaker, and so the next speaker will be the Mr. Jerome Chujenko. I'm so sorry if I pronounced wrong. He is an assistant research fellow of the Taiwan Biodiversity Network, an online open data platform for the biodiversity data mobilization and citizen science project in Taiwan, into the Endemic Species Research Institute, and he also worked many jobs too. So today he will present in the title how citizen science is reinforcing the forming bottom-up national biodiversity open data culture, our progress on an island in the Western Pacific region, Taiwan. Please welcome Mr. Jerome Chujenko. Excuse me, Jerome, I can't hear your voice. Please try again, I think. Oh. Actually, I'll try again, please. Moment, and then receive. Actually, we already turned on your microphone, but it doesn't work.
What about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, very good, very good.
Sorry, I don't know what happened to my phone, but sorry for the technical issue. So I will start to share my screen now. Oops. Okay, so can you all see my screen? Yes, okay, great. Okay,
Yes.
Hi everyone. I'm very grateful and happy to have this chance to share our experience in this festival. It's also a very great honor to receive the invitation and also the hard work from the organizers. So I'm Jerome Chujenko from the Endemic Species Research Institute in Taiwan. We are a government institute that focuses on biodiversity research and conservation. But in the recent decade, we are actually putting a lot of effort into citizen science. And so today I'll be sharing what we have learned along these years and how this kind of working with citizen scientists is also reinforcing the forming of a bottom-up national biodiversity open data culture in Taiwan. We stressed on bottom-up is because we don't really have a really top-down biodiversity data management system in Taiwan. And I believe it might be also the case in many countries. And also we believe open data is a very important part in citizen science. And also because data is always the basic thing about scientific research and also for museum daily works. So I'll start by showing you where I came from, in case you don't know, and by using this map from GBIF. This GBIF is the Global Biodiversity Information Facility. It's an international organization under the United Nations with the main goal to provide free and open access to biodiversity data all over the world. And this map here is actually the hotspot of the open data, where you can see if it's more red, there means more data here. And so in here, along the Pacific Ocean, this red dot here is Taiwan. So you can see that we have a good amount of open data. So for now, we actually have around 14 million occurrence data available by a lot of data sets and contributors. And one important characteristic of these data is that more than 70% of them are provided by citizen scientists. It's much, much higher than government project. And also like for museum archive, it's about 3.5% here. So as you can see, in this case, citizen science is a very, very powerful tool to help us in gaining our knowledge, in this case, data about biodiversity. So I'll be sharing with you that when you combine the idea of biodiversity database, the concept of open data and citizen science together, what you can do and what we have learned. I'll show you in two cases. The first is a bird watching case and the second is a roadkill reporting case. Both of them are citizen science project that initiated just out of interest. You can say it was just out of interest, but somehow it helped out a government environmental crisis, which in the bird watching case is green energy. In the roadkill case is wildlife disease. And from that we learned and we evolved into the next stage. Okay. So first we start with the bird watching. We have a very strong bird watching society in Taiwan. And as mentioned in the previous speaker, we actually have a collaboration between us, our institute and eBird, which was an online data platform created by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology in the US. And after we started to collaborate since 2015, our data and the people using it was gaining very, very fast. You can see in below that the accumulation rate of the data is increasing very fast. And so a lot of people are watching birds, and one of the places that people like to go watching birds is, of course, where you have a lot of birds, and in this case, it's like wetlands. But for now, we all know about the problem about global warming. And one way to deal with global warming is to turn from fossil energy to green energy. One of the green energy is solar panel. You use the sunlight to generate energy. But for solar panels, there is a challenge is that you need a large area, a flat area, to build all these energy plants like this. And in Taiwan, we don't really have a lot of this kind of areas left. And most of them are actually in wetlands, especially in salt plains. These areas that were used to farm salts from the sea. And in the past, it's quite popular in Taiwan, but now they are mostly abandoned. And many of them have turned into a bird haven. So it's a lot of birds here. So in this case, which is in the Jiayi Budai important bird area shown in this red circle here, this is a case with a lot of salt plains. And also, so it was recognized as an IBA by the BirdLife International. And in the blue area, there's also recognized by local conservation law that it's an important wetland. But then the Energy Development Institute decided to plant solar panels here. It avoided the important wetland. It thought maybe this place is okay. All these red parts are places where it originally thought they should build these solar panels. But when this idea, this project went public, so it raised a lot of concern from bird conservationists and also local people caring about their environment. Luckily, because we have a lot of data of birds in this area, the data is in good, detailed enough to show us where you have more birds than the others, where like this red parts is we have more birds and the other is not that much. So we provided this kind of information that were largely gathered from citizen scientists to the Energy Institute. And both sides came to agreement that, yeah, maybe we don't plant that much. We will agree on planting the solar panels in this A and B area only. So this is a successful case where usually, development and conservation very commonly becomes into a conflict with no happy ending. But in this case, it's quite okay, and that's because we have data. And then the question happens is that what if it happens elsewhere? So even for birds, we have quite a lot of data in Taiwan. It doesn't mean we have data everywhere. So in the map in the right, I show you like where we have data in the dark gray color, and where it's pale gray, it means there's a gap. We don't have data there yet. So we thought about maybe we could increase the data coverage, and to assure the quality of the data, we also want them to have a minimum sampling effort. So how did we do that? We used the 1 kilometer grid, selected those with no data, and asked citizen scientists to go to these grids, do more than 200 meter transect, more than 10 minutes, but we only gave them 1 month. So in this case, one way to encourage them to join this project is to provide them with awards. So we tell them, if you join this project, you have the chance to get this cup made with a figure. That is, this is actually the Mikado pheasant, an endemic species in Taiwan. So citizen scientists like these kind of things. I mean, everyone likes these kind of things. But to even engage them more, we created an online map, which in real time shows you where is these gaps, and if someone filled a gap, it will just be filled with color again. So it's like you are having flags on the map. So that will give you an idea, like you go out, you survey, and you see this one is cleared by you, and so you get a lot of energy to do that. And also we provide a ranking about how many grids everyone is actually doing. So in this kind of thing, you can see like, oh, maybe just 3 more grids and I'll be ahead of someone, and maybe just 20 more grids, I'll be the first one. And this gave them a lot of motivation to put more energy into it. So really, this wasn't the first time we did this. At first, we're not really sure how this will end, but actually it went out very well. Our first goal was like 500 grids. It was achieved in less than 4 days. And the second goal is 1,000 grid. It was achieved in 1 week. The third goal is like 2,000 grids, it was achieved in around 2 weeks. And eventually, we all got more than 3,000 grids done just in 1 month. And this is how it looked. Just in 1 month, these e-birder, these citizen scientists filled in the gap like this. And you can see it on the map. It's actually distributed in a lot of areas around Taiwan. So this is quite a remarkable and also a very successful case to show you how people can really devote into the citizen science projects. All right, so then we'll go to the roadkill case. In the roadkill case, I'll first present you with the map of road in Taiwan. I hope you could keep in mind with this, this map. This is the map showing that the total road length of Taiwan, like we have more than 43,000 kilometers of road. There are more than 8 million cars, more than 14 million motorcycles running on these roads. And you can imagine if with such high density of road and such high traffic, there's going to be accidents. And accidents happen not only for human, it also happens for animals. This is a sad thing to see on the road, and usually you might feel quite, helpless. You don't know what to do. But then our colleagues in our institute decided that, yeah, maybe we could create a Facebook group and we could start to share the photos and some information on this group by putting on this Facebook group. And at first we thought, this is not going to be very popular. This might be only a researcher thing because it doesn't look very pretty. It's not very pretty photos. It's almost sometimes a little bit, nasty or disgusting and sad. But to our surprise, thousands and thousands of photos were pouring in by a lot of people. And you can see it's all different kind of snakes, reptiles, animals all around. And somehow it caught the interest of the public, or maybe because people are just really upset seeing these things and they want to do something. So since we got a lot of people joining in, we thought maybe we can ask them to do a little bit more. So we use this. This is another map showing the convenience stores in Taiwan, the 7-Elevens. So we actually also have a very high density of 7-Eleven or other convenience store in Taiwan. And this is how you can see it. And we ask those citizen scientists that if you are able, you can pick up the dead animal, pack it up into a small box, go into the convenience store and send it to us as frozen meat. As in this case, it says it's a chicken. It's a chicken for food. But we will pay for the fee. So actually, this is one way we encourage them to not only record the photos, but also send us specimens of these animals. And so we got all kinds of these specimens from the road. Some are not in good shape, but actually some are quite okay. And so this project started in 2012. And since then till now, more than 6,000 citizen scientists has participated in it. We recorded more than 500 animal species, more than 200,000 photos, and more than 10,000 specimens. And on the right, this map is actually the map of all these roadkill records. If you still remember the road density map, you can see it really much very matches the road map, which means that all this data is very good in representing the road and the data on it. And it's not only where people is public. I mean, most of the people are living in the plains, and here the green areas are the mountains. And even in the mountains, there's also good data here. And this also went to another level when just in 2013, rabies, a very dangerous wildlife disease outbreak, started in Taiwan. And before that, Taiwan was a rabies-free country for more than 50 years. And the host of the rabies is a poor little animal called the ferret badger. It's a small mammal, which looks like this. And to deal with this kind of disease and because it will cause quite a lot of social panic because it's a very dangerous wildlife disease, you need a lot of specimens to help them. And luckily, because we are already collecting these specimens earlier before this rabies outbreak, we are able to immediately provide the researchers with these rabies specimens. And so for the project to study the rabies in Taiwan, more than 60% of ferret badger rabies specimen came from citizen scientists. Yeah. Okay, so, but on the roadkill case, we didn't only stop on thinking about reporting. We thought about, we don't want just to, we would like to somehow reduce the roadkills, and we also want to know the impact. So in one case, if we could know where are the roadkill hotspots and how many animals are killed on the road, we can do more about this, this thing and maybe help them better. So we applied a hierarchical sampling design standardized with a standardized protocol and asked citizen scientists to do a little bit more, a more sophisticated survey. So we select a lot of 5 kilometer grids. We ask these citizen scientists to adopt these grids and do 4 repeats in a year on 3 types of road. And they have to record the length of road they surveyed, the start and end of time. And to now more than 200 grids counted annually. It's quite a lot. You can see we are actually asking the citizen scientists to do more and more, but they are able to do this because, or they are willing to do this because they have joined the project before, they have gained their knowledge, and they have known this could have some impact and help on the society. So this whole idea actually expanded not only from roadkill, which focus on dead animals, it then expanded to a lot of different citizen science platforms, and it's like open data systems, including reptiles, plants, otters, spiders, specific haptid types, and freshwater mollusks. All these citizen science projects, if you want to have a glance of them, you can come to this website. It's called the Taiwan Biodiversity Network, which you can see all these different citizen science projects in Taiwan. Okay, so what we've learned to achieve our goals to activate citizen scientists to join us is to use social media to recruit them, gamify surveys to energize them. I believe we have a very simple, similar belief as in the previous speaker, and I believe in the later talk. And also one important thing is to provide informatics system to help, not only to help citizen scientists to have easier way to upload and their data, also for citizen science managers to manage and distribute the data for more public use. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. And I would like to thank, actually for the roadkill project, it's I'm not the main leader of these citizen scientists. The roadkill project is led by our colleague, Mr. Lin, and the eBird is by Rachel Dean, and also the Data Gap campaign, the very fun game on the web is by Wang Junchen, and also all the citizen scientists who joined us. And if you have more interest, please feel free to contact me, or also visit these websites to know more about these projects. Thank you very much, and that's the end of the talk.
Oh, thank you very much. Your presentation is very good to share to us as well. And the impact of the citizen science is very important too. So we can learn that we use the data from the people who collect the data. For example, like the eBird. The thing that I quite very interested in the roadkill project, right?
Yeah.
And that you show about the dead animal. So I think that is very important too, even though it might be controversial topic, that it is good enough or not that we show about the dead animal. But the thing that happened can show that the hotspot, mostly in the just like an urban area. So that we can know about what's happened about the animal too. And moreover than that, you collect the dead animal to do the specimen. And I think that it's very good to study about the species of animal too. And thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go to the last speaker, and I would like to introduce you to know Ms. Yang Rong. She is a research assistant from Shanghai Science and Technology Museum in China. Please welcome Mr. Jerome. She will present in the title Research on the Design Path of Gamification Citizen Science Project. Please welcome.
Okay. Sawadika, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jerome from Shanghai Science and Technology Museum. Thank you for inviting me as a speaker. So now I'd like to share my screen. Okay, so thank you. It's a great, thank you. It's a great honor to speak here. My topic focuses on the application and design of gamification citizen science. Today, my presentation consists of 3 parts: citizen science project, science game, and gamification citizen science. First, let's have a brief introduction to citizen science project. Citizen science is a form where the public are recruited to contribute to scientific investigations. They can collect and upload photographs of different living things, such as insect, plant, or animal, target with the date and location where it was taken, and it can provide valuable scientific data. So compared with the traditional popularization of science, citizen science is actively introduced to the public in the process of scientific knowledge production. And through the whole process, the public can have a close contact with nature, with science, further participate in science, and finally achieve the goal of understanding science and enhancing public scientific literacy. So next, let's take a case as an example. The activity of Find Nature was launched in August 2020. It's a citizen science project initiated by the Shanghai Natural History Museum, which is a branch of Shanghai Science and Technology Museum. Here are some interfaces of the mini program. This project aims to encourage the public to go into nature, record and collect nature, and also help scientists build an urban wildlife diversity database. By the end of 2020, the number of mini program users had exceeded 30,000, of which 433 people had left nearly 3,000 of valid data. I will introduce this project in detail through listening to insect. That is one part of 5 projects of Find Nature. This project based on Osopotera can distinguish the categories by singing sound. Users can open WeChat mini program Find Nature, we can see here, and enter the page of listening to insect. And here, the user can hold the key for 15 seconds to collect the insect's singing voice and upload the current geographic, temperature, and time information. At the same time, in this project, we can see the 3rd picture. Users can see the introduction of different species of insect, such as the photos, voice examples. The gathering information from the public through background identification, artificial correction, and iterative learning, finally presented for effective samples with certain gathering information. We can see from the 3rd picture. It also can be applied to the related research of researchers. On the other hand, citizens can learn how scientists collect and record information in the wild, help citizens participate in the scientific process. Secondly, I'd like to introduce the development of Shanghai Science and Technology Museum in science museums. We all know the purpose of games is also like science is to satisfy curiosity. So Shanghai Science and Technology Museum has developed 52 science games, mainly based on Vibe and WeChat mini program. Among them, the game Running Wild House has excellent interactive data, and more than 19 million players have learned about Przewalski House through the game. At present, the science game platform is still under construction. We are negotiating with Tencent, is the largest internet survey provider in China, to build a science game experimental platform. Thirdly, let's move to gamification citizen science. Gamification can be defined in many ways. The most widely accepted definition is the application of game design elements to non-game situations to help players solve problems and improve self-construction. Gamification in science refers to the application of game design elements to scientific research. In another word, using games to engage citizens in scientific research. So notable successful gamification citizen science projects include Folded, in which participants use spatial reasoning skill to fold protein strings. Another is Galaxy Zoo, which asks participants to help classify astronomical photographies. By analyzing game cases and evaluating the effect of citizen science project, we put forward suggestions on design paths of citizen science game in 4 aspects. One is task, the 2 is interaction, feedback, and reward. For task design, we recommend to provide different levels of difficulty to suit different players' needs. They can start from low difficulty tasks and gradually transition to high difficulty, which help different groups better acquire scientific knowledge during the participation. In addition, narrative is also important. We find that incorporating a story into a task can make more interesting and immersive for the player. We find that story-driven activities and rewards make citizen science tasks more fun and gives participants a variety of reasons to keep playing. So for the reward design, projects can offer rewards to players, both virtual rewards such as in-game points, experience points, etc., and real reward. For example, small souvenirs, museum tickets, or small gifts. And when it comes to interaction design, we find that team cooperation can effectively stimulate the enthusiasm of players. Meanwhile, designers can also use ranking as one of the ways to motivate players to participate. It's also the way we use in the Listen to Insect. And for the feedback design, the citizen science game can give timely feedback to participants in the form of graphics and animation according to the task completion. For example, the progress bar is used to show the completion degree of the task, and the animation effect is used to show the player's level achievement and also the unlock functions. So, of course, there are far more factors to pay attention to in game design. Shanghai Science and Technology Museum is continuously designing and developing science games. We use a form of science games to stimulate participants' desire for learning, cultivate the sense of cooperation and competition, and also contribute to scientific research through participation in public science projects. In the future development of citizen science, we can not only hope that it can be used to improve the citizen science literacy and provide more abundant data for various field investigations, but also hope that it can play a valuable role in laboratory science with the help of internet technology. That's all the things I share with us, so thank you.
Okay, it's successful for you, right?
Sorry?
Thank you very much for your presentation. Yeah. Okay. That I learned from you is very interesting about the platform and tool too. We can't say no. We are in the digital era. Of course, that we can use just like a financial. It's very good idea to encourage people to how to say like collect the data. And then the moreover than that, gamification. I think that is so very good idea. For me, I'm not in this background, so I think that I heard the first time. And for the protein and the galaxy, so it's more than just fun, but it means that more grow up the knowledge for the people who participate too. Thank you very much. So I think that time flies very fast, and so it passes by so fast. How to say like we nearly to in the end of the seminar. So I would like to invite all of you to turn on the camera, and then we would like to just only one question for all of you. But may I ask you first if my friends have a question, and actually now we open on the SSM Thailand Facebook, and they might leave the questions to all of you. Would you like to check the questions, or maybe I can send to all of you too after that? Because it's come out. So anyway, I would like to ask all of you to leave a message to participants today. And first, I would like to go to Mr. Thailasam, Dr. Thailasam, to give a message to everyone here.
Okay, thank you, Madam. I think for the questions. Now, what are the key message? I think it's very simple that no life without water. Okay, so it's our responsibility to learn to coexist with others. That plants, animal, and environment have equal right, if not more than human being, to access to the water body. Okay, and COVID incident have proven that flora and fauna will be healthier without the presence of human being, without anthropogenic activity, and it shows that we need more. We need them more than they need us now. So I think therefore is our responsibility, the human being, to learn to conserve the water body and also care for the other plants and animals, because it's a time for us to learn and to accept the fact that we need them more than they need us. So learn to coexist and care and play your part before it's too late, because we have only one world and one life. So optimize and look into what we can do together to achieve more. Okay, so that is my key message. Use the
thank
citizen
you very
science.
much. Yeah, thank you. So very beautiful key message too. So I will go to the next speaker, Dr. Lim Swat.
Thank you, Kap. For me, I think the idea of citizen science tell us that we can empower people by connecting them together in a project, and I think we all have that that idea, the idea of how do we can create a big change. We can begin with information, the correct information, the real information, and the real problems that everyone can join to create information, to create knowledge. And by that knowledge, we can make change together by making a step forward from literacy to participation to advocacy and to become active citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your message too. The citizen cycle, very important for us that come together. So may I go to the third speaker, Garnett.
Yes, thank you. So I think citizen science really offers some fantastic opportunities, but I also think that we have to be careful by developing such projects, especially for biodiversity data, which rely on very robust identification and taxonomy, which unfortunately we do not have for many species around the world, which in one way provide great opportunity for fantastic discoveries from the public. But it also means that this needs to be channeled very carefully because science is known for its rigor, and we cannot dilute that to the purpose of including more people. So that's the message I always try to pass and keep while developing some projects. But it's here with some great opportunities, and I was very amazed today to hear like all the different projects and all the different creativity that there was in using them. So I think really this is something that is just at the beginning, and we need to explore further. So I hope that many of the attendees today or in the future will actually feel very much motivated and encouraged to think along those ways. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for a good mentions that we not only to think about the projects, but we need to think carefully about the data too. And so I will go to the next speaker, Mr. Jerome.
Okay, thank you. I think I would like to mention something that became very clear in our experience is that for any successful citizen science project, the trust building between the project leaders and the people who join the project is very important, and that will somehow define or decide how the project will, how big it will grow or how long it could last. So finding a way to build, not only building, let them having fun, and not only that them gaining knowledge and feeling like they are helpful to the society. One way that is very core and important is to build trust between the both sides. And trust is a very imaginable word. It's not easy to be done, but actually one way to go toward that is to utilize the idea of open data. Almost all citizen scientists who participated in these projects, they really want their contribution to have a wider impact. They don't want this contribution to be only on one simple project. If it could be on a wider project, they will make them feel like I have done much more than I expected. And also in that way, they will have more trust into the project that they are doing good things with their contributions, which is their data. And so, but on this level, actually, there's a lot of things behind it, like who can use the data, or how can you use the data. So that's going to be very sophisticated. But when you use the idea of open data and all the knowledge behind it, then actually it will become very simple, much more simple, especially for citizen science project, because most of the citizen science project don't really have a lot of resources. But when you use the idea of open data, and that the citizen scientists who join you believe you that this project is really aiming for the wider public, is for the social good, and then you can build up the trust between you and them. And I believe that is an important goal or way or method to have a successful citizen science project. And yeah, thank you. And okay.
You have more, you can speak more. I think so. Yeah, thank you very much. So maybe I just keep thinking about my idea. Maybe I will go to just like a separate session and just give all of you to have more time because
Yeah.
it's every project is very interesting. Yeah, that you mentioned that not only data, not only things, but citizen science project or maybe scientists, he already aware about the importance of this project too. So that he not to think about that. Okay, yes, we already have a data, but if we can deliver in the very simple method to everyone, it means that everyone can reach to the information. It's very good idea. So I will go to the last one, our lady, Miss Jerome. Okay.
Okay, it's a pleasure to discuss the new role and experiment of museums in citizen science here. Shanghai Science and Technology Museum has been exploring the various application of science films and science games in the popularization of science, but it's still at the beginning. And in the future, we will continue to study the application of games in science education and science communication. So we hope to introduce our science games to more people after the establish of our science game platform. That's all. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Very good about the gamification platform too. I think that is, even though all of you for our 5 professional speakers here, if you have any project, I would like to say that NSM Thailand would like to just present about your projects too. Just share the project or anything come up about the citizen science. So thank you very much for all of you. And so I think that it is quite a tough, time passed by so fast today. It's just a short time for us. But anyway, we already gain many value, knowledge and experiences. It's not only how to do the project, but it means that challenging that you need to face and think about the motivations people to engage with the projects too. And the topic of this session is quite variety. We talk about the water resources. Of course, we can't say no that we cannot live without water. So, and the air pollution too, and then how to encourage. It's not only a big people, but it means that small people can come together to do together. And then think about the projects that we not only collect the data, but it means that very value data from the projects too. And then we will go to the important things, the simplify the information to all people is very, very good for us. And the last one, technology, the digital or anything about the gamifying, it might gain more people, have more knowledge and more solution too. So today I would like to say thank you all of our professional speakers to be here with me, and thank you very much. And thank you for all our participants today, and thank you for everyone today. So our seminar might be closed now, and hopefully, please stay tuned. Next year, we will have more session about the Symposium on Science Festival 2022, and we hope all of you come to join us again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sawadika.
Thank you
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
ขอบคุณมากครับ thank you